Big box spirituality. So, it's good to see you guys this morning. People moving around different places. I love that. Keeps me on my toes. So I'm thinking about, a friend of mine did a video called Lunch at Costco. Check it out. Go to YouTube and check it out. Lunch at Costco. He's sitting at his desk. His boss tells him, I'm sorry, I need you to work through lunch. And he's freaking out. What? Because he'd been dreaming about going to Costco to have lunch. And I was in Costco not that long ago, and I was thinking about his video and how he was able to make that happen. Because, you know, they don't let people shoot videos in Costco, but he was able to work it, and they did. And what dawned on me is I'm got this huge cart, and I'm moving this huge cart down these wide aisles. And I said, whoa, you know, this is science of mind in a physical presentation. The big cart is our consciousness, you know, and the wide aisles are our channel of Spirit's delivery. That power that Johanna was talking about that molds the planets and holds them in shape. That's a big box kind of idea. And we have the opportunity to have a big box kind of life, but sometimes we walk around with one of those little small carts, and instead of getting, you know, little plastic ones so we can get 15 items or less, but that's not the way the universe is designed for 15 items or less. It's designed for a big, giant experience of life. And so thus we come to big box spirituality. Not 6 rolls, but 48. But in the idea of thinking about that, really, the universe does want us to fulfill this urge within us to have a larger experience of life. There's a passage in one of the prophets, Malachi, and in it he says, he's speaking to God because all the prophets talk to God all the time. I don't know do you guys talk to God very often? Yeah? I mean, because that's really, you know, the Christian faith came out of the Jewish faith, and that's a long Jewish tradition. They argued with God left and right. I love that idea. They sit down, they just shake their fist and have a conversation with the divine. And we could do that ourselves. And they were having this conversation, Malachi and God says to Malachi, test me now in this. If I will not open for you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing until it overflows. Now, the first part of that, the first part of that is the Malachi is being told to bring his tithe to the storehouse. Now, our tithe, we often think sometimes of our tithe as what we give to the church on Sunday, but our tithes are what we give in general. It's the gifts that we give. If we give our gifts fully to the storehouse, if we give what's within us fully to the storehouse, which is the universe, the manifest universe, because that's where everything that is created gets stored. It's in this house where it all gets stored, right? If we bring that fully, then Spirit will open up heaven, the windows of heaven will open up our consciousness, and in that opening, we will be able to receive blessings until it's just absolutely overflowing. Thus, Costco, big box shopping. But see, there are a few things we need to keep in mind first. The first thing to keep in mind is, why is it that we're here in the first place? See, the divine urge is seeking expression by means of each and every one of us. There's something in us that's been called forth to experience. And to experience, Jesus said, I have come to bring life and to bring it abundantly. You see? So we're supposed to have this creative experience abundantly. And if you don't believe you have it, I mean, think about the questions that Johanna was talking about a minute ago. You're asking yourself questions all the time because we are just creative. We're just like curious about everything. And so this idea of abundant creativity is a part of us. It's just something we can't get away from. It's Spirit's nature and it's our nature. This is why we're talking about in our Mystical Foundations class about being co-creators with Spirit. See, God put this idea in us to be manifest in through the world, right? And so since God is really, in the bigger picture, nothing, because God is like, have you seen it? I haven't. The experience of God is through us. The experience of God is through its manifest creations, you see. And so as a result of that Spirit putting it into us, we are these co-creators. We are these co-nature to experience creativity, to be the givingness in the universe, you see. That's what we're all here to do. Ernest Holmes says in Living the Science of Mind, I believe, Ideas of Power, in Ideas of Power, he says, we are here for the delight of whatever it was that created us. Our whole life exists for the expression of our soul. Our soul. In so many ways we think of our soul many different ideas around soul, but in this instance, the soul I'm talking about is the soul of spirit that is within us, you see. And the God that created us has given us this idea to express that soul, to come forth and to be more through each and every experience of our lives. So that's why we're here, to experience this big box spirituality that is part of life, you see. But the big box only works if you work it, you see. You're not going to get all those items if you don't go to Costco and stand in that long line to get out of the store. You know, and the guy check your thing. That's, you know, what is that all about? I don't, because you know they check your receipt and still they didn't get your 48 rolls. It's underneath, and you got out of there for free with those. Unless you're like me and you go, no, you didn't get that one, because I won't let them do that. But you see, this thing that we're talking about, this wide channel of delivery that we get through life, this big box experience of spirituality that we get, comes when we open our consciousness, when we open our windows of heaven, our ideas of what is big and what is large and what we can have. We have to do the work ourselves, you see. It's like my friend Erica, God bless her soul, this friend of my brother's, and we used to go to this place called the Mongolian Big Bowl up in St. Paul, Minnesota, which, by the way, had 12 inches of snow last night. Johanna and I were talking to my dad yesterday on the phone. They had a snow day. They were stuck in all day. And we were saying, hey, Dad, you're still stuck in, aren't you? You're watching this morning? I know you are. And so I know. And I'm sorry. I know. We were teasing about the fan blowing because the sun was so hot and the windows were open. And yes, we were eating fresh squeezed mandarin orange juice while you were freezing, baking cookies. But we were talking about this experience, and it reminded me of being in Minnesota with my brother's friend Erica, and we go to this Mongolian Big Bowl. You know, the kind of place where you go and you fill up the bowl with all the food and you put it on and they cook it for you. Well, she would, and every time you cook it, it cooks down. So no matter how much you fill up your bowl, it's a great marketing tool, I guess, because no matter how much you fill up your bowl, it's always shorter when you get finished, right? Well, she fixed this. You know, they have the romaine lettuce. She would take the romaine lettuce and pile it around her bowl and make the bowl bigger, and then she would fill it up. So it'd be like, whoa. So whenever her bowl would come back, it'd still be full, even if they drop it in. And the cooks would be like, what just happened? Because they couldn't, you know, right? But that's such a wonderful experience of big box thinking, you see? We have to open up our consciousness. We have to make our bowl of acceptance bigger in life so that we can receive more of the gifts that are coming our way. That's how we increase our what Ernest Holmes calls, our founder calls, the mental equivalent. It is done unto you as you believe. If you believe that you're walking through life with one of those plastic carts for the 15-item aisle, you're going to get a 15-item life. But if you believe you're walking through life with a big old giant Costco cart, you're going to get a 48 roll of toilet tissue life. Okay, maybe that's not the best metaphor. Maybe I might need to work that one a little bit. You'll get the big bulk item of whatever it is you want in life. Let's put it like that, you know. We create our channel for receiving is what I'm trying to get to here. That's the bottom line. Ernest Holmes saved me again here with this wonderful quote of yours. He says, "For no matter how abundantly the horn of plenty may pour out its universal gifts, there must be a bowl of acceptance, a chalice of expectancy, or the gift cannot be complete." See, we create the bowl of acceptance. We hold the chalice of expectancy so that we can receive our gifts. That's the story of science of mind. That's the way this thing works. Mind is God. Science is how things work. Science of mind is how God works. Religious science is the root word regliere, to bond, to bind things together, okay? So religious science is really how do we bind this idea of working things in the world together so that it works for our lives. And Dr. Holmes puts the secret to it right here. See, the horn of plenty, that's that same thing that Malachi was talking about, will pour you out a blessing till it's overflowing. What is it pouring out of? It's pouring out of the horn of plenty. So that horn of plenty, given its universal gifts, will come to us as we open up our bowls. You can have this one or you can create that one. It's totally up to you. It's in your consciousness to do that. So as this channel of consciousness, demonstration is in our hands. But now here's You know, God is always speaking because I'm always talking to God. We have some arguments. I think I'm part Jewish. So I'm reading this book, the 12 Powers, and it's by the Fillmores. And it turns out it's not just by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, because Myrtle had passed on and Charles married again to a woman named Cora. And in this quote, he says, "We must be careful that we do not do all the talking, but give God a chance to talk to us." So yesterday, as I was working on finalizing the talk, I was in that space of letting God talk to me. And the talk took a turn that I didn't expect. Because up on my screen here flashed one of those news feed bulletins, and it was a headline about homelessness in LA. And that 30% of the homeless people living on the streets of Los Angeles experiencing homelessness, I should say experiencing, because they're not homeless, everyone has a home. They're experiencing this idea called homelessness. And 30% of them are women. So I clicked on the link. And I looked at it and I was like, my goodness, the journey that they go through to live through life and how they have to bond together to protect themselves against drug abuse and assault and being things stolen from them. And, you know, it made me think that perhaps it's not just about me filling up my big box, but experiencing a big box spirituality that allows me to help other people fill up their big box too. There was a Sufi story about a guy named Ibrahim bin Abdullah. He was a pretty famous Sufi back in the early days of Islam. And he had moved from his town in Medina to another small town. And people in that small town were asking, there was a man, he lived in Medina, and there was a man that moved from Medina to this new small town. And they asked him if he had moved did they know who this guy was? And he says, "Oh yeah, I know of Ibrahim bin Abdullah. He actually taught us how to be wealthy. He made us wealthy." And the people said, "He made you wealthy? Well, he's a Sufi, he's a dervish, he has no money. How do you mean he made us wealthy?" He said, "Well, he taught us about the power of generosity. He taught us how if we give to another, then we give of ourselves, and then that other has something, and as long as we have the power of generosity, we are always rich because someone is always taking care of us." And I was thinking, wow, that's it. No one goes without when you practice the power of generosity. If we were practicing the power of generosity, there wouldn't be 30% of the homeless on the streets being women. In fact, there wouldn't be 58,000 homeless people walking in the streets of Los Angeles at all if we did this. I immediately started thinking, you know, I'm going to my closet and I'm going through it and I'm slashing stuff left and right. There's so much stuff, we all have it. There's so much stuff that I don't wear in my closet. I'm getting rid of it. And I'm taking it down to Union Mission in Skid Row. And I'm taking it over to the Samaritan Center so that people can have stuff because we have stuff that we don't need. I want to practice generosity. I would like to encourage others to practice generosity. Robert Fraser, who wrote a wonderful book called Sufi Talk, says, "We should always be happy to question our own thinking and our own desires." So I was questioning my thinking yesterday. Is it just about me and my big box spirituality, or is it about taking big box spirituality and helping to use it to change the world? I think it's about using it to change the world. I think if I practice that kind of big box spirituality, if I could practice that much godliness working through me as me, which is really the whole story of my soul's journey anyway. That's our soul's journey as co-creators with the divine, to experience that the fullness of the God within us is to be that God within us, is to be that self-giving soul, to be less to be less of a slave to the worldly pleasures that are constantly asking for us. And I didn't say I'm going to give away all my clothes. I'm okay with having nice stuff. And I don't need all the nice stuff I have. And I don't think any of us do. But there are those that do. But then comes something else. When you think about charitable giving, a couple of voices come up. One of them is Just what I said. I don't want to give away all my stuff, and keep a few things. I don't want to give away all my money. Got to have a little bit of it. Those voices are always working. And there was a priest in his cathedral in France back in the Middle Ages, and a dervish was traveling through. I'm into Muslim Sufi stories, so I've been reading a Sufi Talks book by Fraser. And he tells the story of this dervish who came to see this priest, and he sees the statue, this ugly statue. And he says, "What is that statue?" He says to the priest, "What is that statue?" He says, "That's a statue of Satan." He says, "Really? I'm not so sure." The priest says, "What do you mean?" He says, "I don't think Satan's that ugly. I think Satan's kind of glamorous, kind of attractive. Otherwise, why would so many people listen to him?" And I was thinking about those two voices. One of those voices that wants to hold on to the stuff that we have, that wants to keep us in the patterns that we've been living, that holds us from growing into a more godly experience of life, is a very attractive voice. It says, that's yours, you should keep it. You might need that one day. It's not somebody that's going to you saying, "You need to keep that, you need it one day." No, it's a soft, soothing, "Hey, sweetie, are you sure?" It's like Hepburn, who's walking around here, glamorous, kind. So as you go to the process of being more generous, as you go to the process of giving, you might run up against those voices. And I'm just saying, pay attention. Think about that. Because see, it is God's pleasure to give us the kingdom. But it is our privilege to accept it. It's God's pleasure to give us the kingdom. It's our privilege to share it. Can we have it all, and do we need it all? Do we have more God within us, or do we have the desire for more stuff within us? So what is it that fills your big box? What's in your cart, and what can you share with somebody else? That's all this is about. Dr. Holmes says that anything you can dream of is not too great for you to undertake if it hurts no one and brings happiness and good to your life. This is one of those quotes in the book, the textbook, that's very interesting. He put the all caps. I didn't add the all caps. So that's emphasis right there. Anything you can dream of, anything you can dream, come up with, using that divine creativity that's at the very center of your soul, that divine urge that's seeking expression by means of you. Anything, as long as it hurts no one. How often can we say that? How often do we question ourselves? How often do we think, is what I'm going to do not going to harm anybody else? And not even a physical body, like a human body, an animal body, an earth plane body, the atmosphere, whatever we're doing. Can we answer that question? Can we answer that call that fully? And if we do, and it can bring happiness, it will bring good to our lives. It's a wonderful, wonderful code to live by, brought to us by our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes. So as you think about the size of your cart and what you're carrying in it and where you're going to go with it and what you're going to do with it, run it through this idea first. And then you find out whether you want to take it to the checkout stand and see if they're going to slash it and let you take it out of the store. And so it is. So here we go. You ready now? Remaining open at the top, I enlarge my cart of receptivity, increase my bowl of acceptance, widen my channel for good. Guad. Thank you for that, John. Oh, is it what? Oh, it's Gaud. Yes, my own language that I don't even know how to speak.
Either way is Gaud.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. All right, this is our time for healing prayer. Let's see, where's the prayer box? There it is. Beautiful. Thank you, beautiful. All righty. This box sits out in the lobby before service. If you have a prayer request, you'd like one of our practitioners to pray over your prayer request before the service and throughout the week, because they take it home, they pray it throughout the week. Please put it in here. There is power in prayer. There's power in that spoken word. They use that power that holds the planets in place and molds the atmosphere. And so that's really a powerful thing to do. And I want to just offer that to you, as well as the practitioners that will be available for you after service. You'll see them in a few moments. But in the meantime, let's do a prayer together. And as we do that prayer, I want to encourage you to think about where in your life you might want to move into a bigger experience of life, or someone that you know that might need to move into a bigger experience of life. We will say those people's names or that condition out loud into the room, and that puts a vibrational energy out into the atmosphere, and that vibrational energy has a movement, has a focus to it. You see, all your thoughts, really, what's happening right here? That's just vibration, right? And the vibration touches against other things in the unformed, non-domain substances. Dr. Deepak Chopra talks about the non-domain world, and that quantum world is what responds to us and becomes the physical experience of our life. So we talked about it. What was that book? The Power of, the Pam Grout, E2, E squared. They talk about it, you know. Chopra talks about it. Holmes was onto it long before those who found out anything about this stuff. And we're going to use it right now in prayer. So I invite you to bring forth whatever it is that you want to have in prayer out loud right now. Let's make it powerful. Show her, sir. Dr. Susan. Patricia. In this moment, I recognize the divine presence is fully here in this space. That each and every one of us is open to our God selves, and we have allowed that understanding that we are one in the mind of God, that we are actually the experience of God made manifest in time and space, that we operate with this system called love and this way of being that puts things into action through the law. We combine those two together to be the experiences of our lives. So fully understanding that now in this moment, I speak this word on behalf of each and every person here in this room and all those that have been shared in the prayer request, knowing that divine right action is taking place, that the Spirit of the universe is pouring out of its horn of plenty an overflow of gifts to each and every one of us. These gifts bring more joy, more happiness, more wholeness and well-being, right action, harmony and peace, be it through perfect employment, the right living environment, the upward mobility, deeper pockets for more cash to flow into, the resolution of difficult situations. All of that is the workings of Spirit moving forward in the lives of those that we care for, that we hold in our hearts, and that we put into prayer at this moment. So I'm simply knowing that there is this power and presence that hears our word and responds with an affirmative yes because of our deep gratitude for this experience of life. This is how it works. This is how we work it. This is what we do. So with a heart that is filled with deep gratitude and a strong conviction in how this prayer system works, I say thank you, Mother, Father, God. Thank you, Divine Presence. Thank you, Infinite Spirit. I release this prayer now into the law, knowing it is done and complete, and so it is.
And so it is.
Mm-hmm.